Our topic today, we are going to look at joint stock companies. Joint stock companies. So any member to tell us what joint stock companies are. What joint stock companies are. Because you may find that it is not a new term. You may have heard about joint stock companies. So I'm asking if any person can briefly tell us what joint stock companies are. So Isabella, I see your hand up. Isabella.
Yes, joint stock companies are cooperative bodies where people form to carry out specific functions with the major aim of making profits.
Thank you so much, Isabella, for that input. Yeah, good enough. You may find that you are reading ahead of me, and that is so wonderful. So by the end, you may find that I have to ensure that at least each and every person can define a joint stock company, give characteristics of joint stock companies, and give at least 3 characteristics of private company. So we look at a corporate persons formed to carry out specific business. So you may find that a corporate body, what does it mean when I talk about a corporate body? So you may find that a company has a legal existence of its own. So you may find that we tend to call a company as an artificial human being because it is a corporate body. It is put into existence by law. So you may find that the laws of Uganda, the laws governing companies, can make a company to exist on its own. So you may find that it is separate entity. So a company is a separate entity. In the courts of law, it can sue or be sued because it is recognized as a person. So you may find that because a company is recognized as an artificial human being, it can be taken to courts of law. It can also take someone also to the courts of law. So that is the reason why you may find that we tend to take a company as an artificial human being. So you may find that here each of the person who contributes capital is known as a shareholder. So you may find that a company is formed by shareholders. These people contribute capital. So you may find that you may say that our company will be in position to use 5 million. So if you are going to use 5 million, then you may find that you are around 20 people. So 20 people, it means that at least each person has some amount of money he has to contribute. So you can agree on the portions each person will have to contribute. Then there are a bit of shareholders of a joint stock company is limited to capital contributions. So what does it mean? Yeah, I see Irene, the hand is up. Irene, any question?
Yes, teacher, I would like to know the meaning of entity.
Entity. Okay, thank you so much. When I talk about entity, I can also say an enterprise. Are we there? So entity can as well mean enterprise. Are we there? Something which stands on its own. Yeah, I think I've answered you. So you may find that, yeah, these shareholders, their liability is limited to capital contributed. What does it mean? It means that once shareholders solicit their money in terms of capital, for them, they don't go beyond soliciting money for any other issue. For example, once a company gets debts, a debt of 10 millions, you may find that shareholders are not supposed to sell off even their assets in order to pay that debt once a company fails to pay the debt. Therefore, we say that shareholders are limited to the capital contributed. So you may find that that is the reason why you may find that here the shareholders, we tend to call them the limited shareholders. They only stop at the capital contributed. So that is a joint stock company. Then we move on. We look at characteristics of joint stock companies. These joint stock companies, you may find that they have characteristics which make them so unique. You may find that one of them, a company is an artificial person, distinct from its owners. So you may find that shareholders, however much they contribute capital, but you may find that in one way or the other, they only stop at the capital contributed. They do not take themselves as a company. So a company has to stand on its own. It has a separate legal entity. That is a characteristic of joint stock companies. Then number two, it can own property, borrow and lend out money. Because a company is an artificial person, is a separate entity, you may find that it can own a property. That company can borrow and it can lend out money because it stands on its own. Therefore, shareholders, for them, they just stop at contributing capital. However, they can engage in affairs of running a company, but the company is seen as an artificial person. It stands on its own according to the laws of Uganda. Then number three, the capital of the company is raised by sale of shares. So sale of shares, you may find that here, that is how capital is contributed. So you may find that in Uganda, what is known as a migabo. So you may find that companies are able to have capital through selling shares to different individuals. So in simple terms, if you are asked the definition for a share is just a unit of capital. So number four, a company can enter into contracts as an individual. Because a company is seen as an artificial person, it can enter into contract with an individual. That is the reason why you may find that so many companies are given jobs, and in one way or the other, contracts are signed by people who work in those companies. But for them, they just represent a company when they are signing a contract. Because a company on its own, it can enter into a contract with an individual or even with another company. So I'm going to request that you put up your hands and you supplement on those 4 companies, because I've defined joint stock companies, and I even have tried to mention at least 4 characteristics of joint stock companies. Already, someone is putting up the hand to supplement. Ashina, supplement.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, you are excused.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
Have not understood the first point. I have not understood the first point.
Okay, let me explain again. The point says a company is an artificial person distinct from owners. As I've told you that a company is a separate entity. A company can stand on its own. Therefore, a company is not in the same line like shareholders. Shareholders, for them, they only contribute money towards the establishment of the company. They buy shares and the company is started. So when a company is registered, the company is registered as a separate legal entity, which company stands on its own. However, it can be represented by workers, but a company is seen as an artificial human being or an artificial person because it stands on its own. Okay, Lana, Lana supplement. Lana supplement on the characteristics.
Yes, yes, teacher.
Yes.
I didn't just understand the last point.
The last point. Okay.
Yeah.
According to the last point, because a company is an artificial person, it is a separate legal entity. It means that it can enter into a contract with an individual. For example, if you want to work in a company, you can make a contract with that company itself, whereby if there is a problem according to the contract, you can take the company in the courts of law and also for you if you abuse the contract. Therefore, if you are in a company, in one way or the other, you are working for that company because it is the company which gave you the contract. It is able to stand on its own because it is an artificial human being. Have I answered you? You can see Stella, your hand is up. Stella?
Yeah.
Yes?
I have a contribution and a question. I'll start with the contribution. The liability of joint stock companies is limited to the contributions, to the share contributions of the shareholders.
Pardon?
The liability of joint stock companies is limited to the income, to the money contributions of the shareholders.
Okay, thank you so much for that input.
Then the question I wanted to ask, in the contracts, when they go to the courts of law when the company goes to sue somebody in the courts of law due to the breach of a contract, how do they call the people who represent the company?
Okay, so you may find that the company may have the executive director as the top personnel in that company. So you may find that he can sign a contract on behalf of the company. Then there was someone was asking, why should we call it artificial? Because when we see human beings, you may find that for them they are natural. But a company is not a human being, a natural human being. That is the reason why we call it an artificial person. Because for it exists on its own as regards to the laws governing companies. But in actual sense, it is not natural. It is just artificial. However much it is taken to be as a separate legal entity. Another person, Achikonda, can see your hand up.
Excuse me.
Your hand is up.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you are excused. Okay, mind about your background noise. Mind about your background noise. Samuel. Samuel, supplement. Samuel.
The shares in a joint stock companies can be transferable.
Pardon?
I say the shares in a joint stock company can be transferable.
Can be transferable? Okay, thank you so much for that input. Another one? Another person? At least I want each and every person to contribute. Edwin? Edwin?
Yes,
Edwin? The floor is yours.
I was asking to explain for me more about the third point.
A third point. Yeah, so you may find that companies are in position to mobilize money through the sale of shares. So shareholders buy shares. That is how a company can mobilize capital. Isabella?
Membership ranges from 2 to 50 in case of a private limited company or 7 to infinity in case of a public limited company.
Okay, so you may find that now you are giving specific features of a private limited company. Characteristics which are general companies. Stella? Stella? Stella?
I forgot to lower
Isabella?
my hand.
Okay, it's okay. Yeah, some people are silent. Let me pick at random. Gift. Gift. Okay, Fifi. Fifi. Mary. Mary. Okay, so you may find that another feature can be that a company is supposed to engage in honorary activities it registered for. For example, if a company was registered to carry out media activities, it cannot engage in construction. So you may find that a company only engages in activities which is registered for. Then another feature which we can have, you may find that unlike a sole proprietor or partnership, so the death or withdrawal of one of them or one of the shareholders cannot affect the life of the company. Therefore, you may find that a sole trader, once he passes away, a business may collapse. If a partner, one of the partner passes away, a partnership may end. But with a company, once a shareholder passes away, that shareholder cannot affect the life of the partnership. Then when you look at profits, which they call dividends in a company, you may find that they are shared by shareholders according to the capital contribution, according to the shares which they bought. So those are also some of the characteristics of joint stock companies. Then we move on to a classification of companies. So you may find that joint stock companies are classified into two according to the ownership. Namely, we have a private limited company. Then we also have public limited company. So you may find that joint stock companies are classified in those two: private limited company and also so someone is asking Isaac that who is responsible once a company makes a loss. So you may find that the board of directors, you may find that it is responsible, because you may find that most of the decisions which in one way or the other taken, they have to consult the board of directors, and in one way or the other they are engaged in policy making. So we look at private limited company. In one way or the other, there are also some of the characteristics which a private limited company tends to have. One of them is that the minimum number of members is 2 to 50. Like one of you were bringing in that feature as a genuine when we are looking at features of joint stock companies, but it is under private limited company. So you may find that members range from 2 to 50. So then you may find that number 2, their capital is raised through sale of shares to family members and friends. So when you look at the private limited company, this one is basically for family members and friends. So you may find that not each and every person can join a private limited company. So you may find that here, in one way or the other, there is limitation. So you may find that that is the reason why we have a name, we have a word private coming in. So you may find that that company can be formed by family members as well. They can allow in friends also to join. Then number 3, shares cannot be transferred without the consent of the other shareholders. So if you want another person to come and join the company in one way or the other, you have to consult other shareholders. If in your family you are around 10, you form the company, then you want a family friend to join, you have to inquire, you have to consult other family members. And once they accept, you are in position to allow them to join. So let me ask you members to bring in other features of a private limited company. Contributions. Hi, Isabella, I can see your hand up.
A private limited company can start operating after getting a certificate of incorporation.
After getting a certificate of what?
Incorporation.
Corporation.
Yes.
Okay, nice try. Thank you for that input, Stella.
A private limited company is not required to display their accounts to the public in search of shares, as shares are sold to only family members and friends.
Stella, thank you so much. A private limited company is not requested as by law to display its financial statements, like when it comes to a private limited company. Thank you for that input, Stella. Another person? Okay, so let us now look at a public limited company. So you may find that the minimum number of shareholders is 7, and there is no maximum. So you may find that when it comes to a public limited company, we do not have any limit. You talk about a company like Vision Group of companies, you may find that there is no limit. So the minimum is 7 and the maximum, and there is no maximum, infinity. Then number 2, the liability of shareholders is limited to capital. The liability of shareholders is limited to their capital. What does it mean? Shareholders stop at only capital contribution. Once a company gets losses, you may find that a company tries to find all means to clear those debts. It can even reach at the extent of selling its own property to clear a debt, but it cannot, shareholders cannot sell off their own property in order to solicit money to clear a debt of the company. So that is the reason why we say the liability of shares is limited to their capital. So then you may find that we look at number 3. Its capital is realized through the sale of shares to individuals. So you may find that here, capital can easily be raised through the sale of shares to individuals. So that is how public limited companies are able to get capital. They sell shares in order to buy, in order to have capital. Like you may find that Umeme, when it was transforming from a private to a public limited company, they sold out shares to the public, each share at 700. Was having a challenge of capital sale shares to individuals. Then number entity. So as I told you that in one way or the other, this company can stand on its own. It is an artificial human being. So I'm going to request that you easily put up your hand and supplement on those characteristics. Put up your hands and supplement on those characteristics. However, you may find that once it is called a public limited company, it doesn't mean that it is owned by the government. No, public comes from that aspect that any person can buy shares from that company, unlike in private limited company. So Isaac, I can see your hand up.
Yes. The setup cost is expensive.
The setup cost is expensive. Okay, okay. Nice try. Nice try. Another one. Hilda.
Teacher, the liability of members towards the companies is limited.
The liability, yeah, already mentioned. I want at least a feature which is not surfacing among those ones we are having. Isabella.
There is publication of their books of accounts.
There is much, so you may find that a limited company, a public limited company, by law is required to publish its books of accounts. Is required to publish its books of accounts. Thank you so much. Another person, I want at least someone who has not given us an answer. Yeah, someone is asking differences between private limited companies and also public limited companies. You are going to have those differences. Another person.
Teacher, I try.
Okay, it is okay.
The company cannot start up a business without a certificate of trading.
Without a certificate of trading. Okay, nice try you. Another person. Thank you for such input. There are some people who are silent. I want each and every person to participate. Jojo, share something with us. Jojo. Jordan. Maureen.
There is employment of many people would have been jobless.
Even private limited companies employ so many people. We want something which is unique about public limited company, which cannot be in a private limited company. But thank you, Linda.
Can I give out?
Yeah, it is okay.
The death, bankrupt, withdraw does not affect the company.
Does not affect what?
The company.
Because we looked at that as a general feature when we are looking at characteristics of UNSO companies. And I say that withdrawal of a partner or even the death of a shareholder, are we there? Withdrawal of a shareholder or the death of a shareholder cannot affect the life of a company. Okay, so let us, before we move on, also there is another feature that here shares are freely transferable, meaning that you can sell your shares to any person. You are not stopped at any time to sell your shares to another person. So shares are freely transferable. It is not like with the private limited company where you have to consult other shareholders before you can sell your shares to any other person. So someone is asking, what is the difference between joint stock and partnership? So partnership is a business which is formed between 2 or 20 persons to start a business. Yet a joint stock company, here we have persons come together in order to carry out a specific business. So you may find that with a joint stock company, people can be beyond 20. As we have seen that with the public, it is 7 to infinity. A private, it is 2 to 50. So with partnership, members cannot go beyond 20 there, but with a company, members can go beyond 20. So I think I've answered you. Then we look at differences between private and public company. So you may find that, number one, a private company has a minimum number of 2 and maximum of 50, while a public company has minimum of 7 up to infinity. So with the public, there is no any limit. Members, shareholders can be 200, 300, even 1,000. But with a private, you cannot go beyond 50. Then, when we look at a private company, does not invite the public to buy shares, but the public company does. What does it mean? Once you may find that a public limited company wants to mobilize more capital, it is given a chance to go and advertise so that members in public can come and buy shares. But with a private company, cannot invite people from the public to come and buy shares. Why? Because for it, it is limited to a group of people like family members. And those family members are supposed to be consulted if a friend wants to join. And those family members are the ones who accept that extra person to come and join. So you may find that that is the reason why a public company does not invite the public to buy shares, but the public company does. Then number 3, you may find that in a private company, shares cannot be transferred without the consent of the other shareholders. So what does it mean? It means that here, you cannot easily sell your shares to another person, which person is not known by family members who have started that private company. So in one way or the other, before you can transfer your shares, you have to consult other shareholders to agree to accept another shareholder to join their company. But in a public company, shares can be bought and sold freely. So like a company, an example, Vision Group of companies, you may find that that company, you can easily buy shares, you can easily sell your shares. You do not need to consult any person if you want to sell your shares, and at the same time, if you want to buy. So you may find that in one way or the other, that one is so much considered. Let me request that you can as well give me other differences apart from those 3. So you put up your hand and you supplement on those differences. Yeah, already tried to check on them so that they have something they can share with us. Stella? Stella?
Yes, teacher. Thank you. I wanted to ask if it's correct to say that the losses and profits in a private limited company directly affect the shareholders, while in a public limited company, they do not.
Thank you for that try. But what I have to say is that, for example, when you talk about evidence, which are the profits of the company, how do they affect the shareholders? So you may find that the statement has some little bit of what? Lack of clarity. So here you have to be so specific when you are giving the differences. But Stella, thank you so much for your contribution. Hilda. 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 Hilda.
The company, in the private limited company, the employees can
Okay.
easily be how can I say it? Can easily be especially actually the word has refused.
Use a simple one.
Okay, they can a large capital, while in public company is just put on public.
Okay, thank you for that trial. Isabella, I can see your hand up.
Public limited companies are managed by board of governors, while private limited companies are managed by shareholders.
Okay, shareholders, what I have to say, are not involved in the management of a company. Are we there? So you may find that for them, they just stop at only the contribution of capital. They don't engage in management of a company. However, they can be in position to elect the electors who can as well help in running the company. Someone is asking, what are shareholders? I said that shareholders, these are people who buy shares, who contribute towards the capital of the company through buying shares. Those are the shareholders. Whitney has something to share with us.
Teacher.
Mariam?
Yes, teacher.
You can as well proceed.
In a public, directors are required. In a private company, directors are required.
Pardon?
In a public company, at least 3 directors are required, while in a private company, 2 directors are required.
Okay, nice try. There is a question. What is a debenture? A debenture is a unit of loan. So once a company gets a loan from somewhere, that is a debenture. So another difference which we can have is that a public company does not publish its balance sheet. So you may find that a balance sheet is a statement showing the assets and liabilities of a company. So you may find that a private company does not publish, but a public limited company is supposed to publish its balance sheet. It has to show a statement showing assets and liabilities of the company. Then also a private company can move on with business once it gets a certificate of incorporation. Yet for a public to start operating, it has to go ahead and have a certificate of trading. So the only document which allows a public company to move on with business is a certificate of trading. Yet with private, once it gets a certificate of incorporation, it can as well be in position to move on with its business, activities. So at this juncture, who can remind us about what a joint stock company is? Gift, I can see your hand up.
Teacher, I can. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
A joint stock company is a company which cooperates or associate with the person having a joint capital for the purpose of carrying out a business to earn profits.
Okay, is a corporate body of persons formed to carry out specific business. Thank you so much. Yeah. Characteristics of a private company. Who can give us some of them? Characteristics of a private limited company. Okay, because of time, you may find that is the assignment I want you people to handle. So you may find that number one, define the term a joint stock company. Then part B, mention the 4 characteristics of a joint stock, characteristics of joint stock companies. Then number 2, you will mention 5 characteristics of a public limited company. So I would like to thank FI for such an arrangement that we have lessons moving on, and also Christian Schools Owners Association for such arrangement, and ETAO for this colorful arrangement. So Mr. Dumba, anything?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the lesson. Now we have a general assembly at 3:30. And this goes out to all the learners. So at 3:30 we have a general assembly, and the link has been shared in that group. So you can now get the person who's going to say the closing prayer, Mr. Ssendegeya.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Any person who is going to give us the closing prayer, Stella, your hand is up.
Me. Thank you, teacher.
Okay.
Let's humble ourselves for the prayer. Dear God, we thank you for everything you've given us, for the gift of life, for the gift of bread, for the gift of our problems and their solutions. But Father, forgive us for the sins we committed. And we thank you very much for this lesson that is funded by Uganda Christian Schools Association. Father, we thank you for everything you've given us. We thank you for our teacher. We thank you for everyone that is funding this program. In the name of Jesus, prayed and believed.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so
Amen.
much.
So let's meet in the general assembly, and then for tomorrow's lesson.
Amen.
Good day.
Okay.